Good morning, good morning. Welcome to today's showcase. Today I am joined by the amazing Hannah Geddes, who is the founder, good morning, of Tangle Web Creation. So you may think, what is Tangle Web Creation? Well, Hannah teaches Zentangle, which you may not have heard of before, but we're going to dig into that. Plus, she also teaches mandala art. She is a mindful meditative she uses mindful meditative drawing practices. That is not easy to say. That are suitable for all ages. It doesn't matter if you're young or old, her work is for everyone. And it goes beyond just art. It is a creative tool to manage stress, anxiety, pain, and depression. And she's particularly passionate about supporting those with ADHD to calm the mind, improve the focus, and boost creativity. Wow, that was a good introduction, wasn't it, Hannah? What I love about Hannah's work is the transformation she sees when she does the work with people. And I've seen it for myself when she's hosted little Zentangle sessions in WIBN, Essex. And you can see people really go into their own little space. So I'm excited to have you here. Welcome to the showcase. So for anyone that's never, I'm just going to drive straight in, by the way. So for anyone who's never heard of what Zentangle and Mandala art is, what is it? It's not just drawing, is it?
No, morning, Vicky. Nice to
Morning.
chat to you. Yes, you're right. It is a bit of a mouthful to say. Zentangle and Mandala arts are very similar in the mindful meditative form of drawing, but they differ slightly. You create beautiful pieces of art with Zentangle, and as you've rightly said, it's suitable for all ages. It's easy to learn, and it's following a ritual of deliberate pen strokes, using very basic elemental shapes like lines and circles, but in an orchestrated manner. Where mandalas, they start off from a center point and you complete in concentric circles radiating outwards by including patterns, motifs, shapes, geometric shapes, and it's got a very long historical background. I mean, I think it's been going mandalas in over in Asia for since 400 BC. But the general gist of both art forms is that you're giving your brain the opportunity to quieten down the external noise, distractions that are going on from everybody's daily stressful lives, and you're just focusing inwards. And when you attend one of the classes, you'll notice very quickly that by focusing on the simple strokes of the pen, you can't think about anything else.
Yes.
And that's where the wonderful mindful meditative flow experience happens.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched quite energetic. I wouldn't say loud because I don't want that to come across wrong, but high energy people that when they sit, and as you say, it's just that pen stroke, they go really quiet. And I'm like, what's happened? What has Hannah done to them? But they have just gone into that quiet space of doing the artwork. And as you say, it's for everyone, isn't it? You don't have to have any drawing skills whatsoever. I think when people think, they see classes that are potentially around art, your automatic is, oh, I'm no good. I was never any good at art at school, therefore I can't do it. But it really is as simple as something to draw on. Is it a particular type of pen you use, or can you do it with anything?
The chosen pen is a micron pen, which is a fine liner. And that means that it's got a very, very, very fine nib. I'm not sure
Yeah,
if you're going to be able
yeah,
to see.
yeah, can, yeah,
And the idea is that there you can see it a little bit better.
yeah.
It means that you've got to be more gentle because with a biro or a bic, you're not going to break the nib. With this one, you'll break the nib. So yeah, I'm a bit of a heavy-handed person, and I am not Sorry, I wasn't artistic in the slightest, and my entire family laughed at me when they thought I was going to be involved in this because I'd shown no previous interest whatsoever. And I think the appeal for me was the fact that I didn't have to spend hundreds and thousands of pounds buying loads of art materials. I didn't
Mm,
need to a shed load of time learning how to do it. I didn't need to have an artistic bone. And I didn't need to have previous experience. And what that's done is that's opened my mind to thinking, well, if I can do that, what else can I
what
do that I
can I
thought I
do?
couldn't? Yeah.
Yeah, because we are quite conditioned, particularly in school. You and I are of a similar age, and you're told that you can't do things, and therefore you have that limiting belief. But I like to think I'm not bad at art, but I would probably steer away from something that involves art because I think, oh, I can't do it. But having done that with you, just those simple pen strokes and then suddenly before you know it you've built up a beautiful picture and it's funny because when you teach you're teaching everybody the same but everybody's work is slightly different, isn't it? I know when you did a little workshop with us at WIBN, we were all following the same instruction, but I guess we all hear things slightly differently and creatively. You say draw a circle, you can guarantee there are not all the circles were not the same. And therefore
You
every
could
piece is
put
unique.
You could put 50 people in a room and I could teach 50 people. And when it's completed, you would look at it and you would say, well, you can see some similarities, but were they all hearing the same instruction? And actually, one of the sessions that we do is where it's you deprive everything, so the noise and everything around you, so it's an even more mindful state, and then you get a real difference. But what I find interesting with that is when I teach classes in schools, you will see different people have different reactions. They respond in different manners. And some people will focus and enjoy drawing circles or floral or flow type patterns. And some people prefer to draw straight lines or curved lines or the line type patterns.
Yeah.
And you'll see clearly in their face, their little tongue will poke out, and you can see that concentration. And even when I taught it your group, you could hear a pin drop. It's so
Yeah.
quiet.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's you really are quietening everything that's going on. And, the members were focused on, listening to the instruction you were giving them, but then just doing the thing that you were asking them to do. And as you say, there's some funny facial expressions going on, isn't there? That people are really concentrating on what they do. What's the youngest age that you have done either art form with?
I would say five. 5 years old was the youngest. When I wrote my first book, my nephew, who was 7 at the time, he helped me to check it. In other words, when I drew something, I made sure that he could follow on and replicate that. So to make it
Yeah,
was suitable. I probably wouldn't go any younger than 5, but if you can hold a pen, or your
yeah,
3 year old can hold a pen, there's nothing to say you can't ask them just to draw a bunch of circles. They'll still get the same response. It
yeah.
just won't be in the same structure because they don't follow the same ritual, the same process.
Yeah, I don't remember because my daughters are sort of in their early 20s now. I don't remember the age, it was too long ago now, that you could say to them, draw a circle, and they knew what a circle was. I honestly, I can't remember at what point that was. I'm guessing it probably was around the age of 2 or 3. But as you say, just being able to hold a pen and then follow those instructions. What at the other side? What's the oldest that you've ever taught? What
Oh,
age has been the eldest that you've taught?
I would say late 80s, but I do know some people that have taught ladies into their 90s.
Wow.
And not wanting to go backwards, but when you were mentioning about your daughter, um,
Mm,
obviously you're taught how to draw shapes and stuff at school. But one of the other things with Zentangle and Mandala arts is that it can help with hand-eye coordination, but it can
oh,
also help increase motor skills. So the actual process of drawing a circle to adults sounds simple, and it's a
Hmm.
almost an thought and process. Whereas a child that might struggle, if you look at one that they've drawn today and ask them to draw one every day for a month, and that you can see the progression, the way that repetitive structure will improve their coordination over that month period. And I say a month, it might be, a couple of weeks, but it can help people. And that also goes for people with ADHD, because sometimes their brain doesn't sit still long enough to focus on one task at a time.
Yeah, no, I was just going to ask you actually, could you start a piece of could you start a piece of art, work on it for a little while, and then pick it up the next day? Or is it the kind of process where ideally you finish the piece that you're working on?
So, just to give you an example, we draw with Zentangle, we draw on a little tile called this. This is a tile that I started before the coronavirus when I met up with other ladies in London. I still haven't finished it. When it comes to drawing mandalas, which will, look something
Yeah.
this, I tend to have 4 or 5 pieces on the go at the same time. For example, this is what I was doing last night.
Wow.
I haven't finished it yet, but it's the start of my new bullet journal. And I just thought, oh, this feels amazing. But I haven't finished it because then I got sidetracked and I thought, oh, I'd quite like to draw this, that, and the other. So it's not abnormal for, I have inbox trays, if you like, and I have currents. And I started off with 3. I think I've now got 7. Yes, I don't have ADHD, but I think you'll admit, as a business owner, our minds tend to be juggling 101
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
And this is ideal for that. When I'm in the flow and in the zone, I'm perfectly focused. But then when I break that focus, I might go, oh, I saw that in a magazine and I like the color palette with that. I'm going to try it on this. And that's when I then
Yeah.
go, right, well, I've got 6 mandalas on the go. But the beauty about Zentangle is that you're doing it on such a small tile. It's only 3.5 by 3.5 inches squared. You can finish it in 20 minutes. You
Yeah.
know, when
So you get a finished piece in a short space of time that gives you time to sit and focus. I wish I'd known about this kind of art form. I don't know if it would have worked, but I used to commute into London,
yeah,
and I would read a book or I'd listen to a podcast. I don't know if the train was stable enough to do Zentangle, but it would be a nice, I quite often used to see ladies knitting, or doing a bit of crochet. It's almost like that type of thing that you can dig out. That little square that you showed, is that card? Because you called it a tile, but it is a piece of card. Is it a piece of card?
it's actually an Italian brand called Fabriano. It's a printmaking piece of card, which probably means nothing to anybody. But one of the philosophies of the Zentangle method is to use the most affordable materials that you can.
Nice.
And although these are imported, they're quite expensive. But if you can't afford that, then each one of my classes are written based around what the host wants. And if they say that they're doing it with children, then I will structure the materials completely differently. I
For everything, yeah.
would not give anybody under 15 a fine line like that. And going back to what you were saying about the train, you would not believe some of the places that I've tangled. My journey from my house to my son's school is just shy of 30 miles, and I've got stuck on that motorway for 3 hours. I've sat in traffic and tangled. I've tangled at 37,000 feet. I've actually taught passengers at 37,000 feet. I've taught a pilot, although not while he was
Not
flying
what
the
flying.
plane. No. I've taught on the train going up to the NEC. I've taught pretty much anywhere and everywhere by the side of the swimming pool at the beach. So, yes, if you feel that you want to get the relaxation while you're on the train and shut out all the hubbub, then it's ideal.
Brilliant. It's a brilliant way to do it, isn't it? Because as you say, as soon as you have started that process, your stress levels are starting to come down, your anxiety is reducing, which for anyone that, I mean, I don't know if it's a I mean, I don't have a problem with flying, but I got to a point when I was working in my corporate job where I was flying all the time. I'd be flying every week, and I did start to feel like this is happening too often, and I was starting to get quite anxious about flying, even though I've flown for so long. But it is that kind of thing that you can slip in your bag with a pen, take it wherever you're going, and I think that's the beauty of it. There's so many different art forms where I mean, I used to love pottery, but it was so messy. And by the time I've got the clay out and I've worked the clay, and then I've got changed because I'm messy when I do anything. I've got changed, I've got the clay out, I've got my tools out. It's going to take just as long time to pack away afterwards.
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, I can't be bothered. Whereas actually just being able to get out a pen and a square and just start, I think is brilliant. So, where do you teach the different types of classes that you run? You mentioned schools.
Uh, I work with schools, so I tend to do a 4-week course.
Yeah,
I work across Herts, Essex, London, and ironically Malta. Um, I work with businesses, so I will do, depending upon what the person wants, team building, because although this is an individual hobby, I find that doing the mosaic type event at the end of the session, it can help with team building, which then increases productivity and what have you. I work with charities, so unfortunately, people that are stuck in hospital having treatments like dialysis or chemotherapy several times a week, it can be a really, really high duress situation. How are you going to entertain yourself when you're going through so many different emotions? This would be suitable. And finally, I work with community groups. So it might be the Cubs, the Scouts, it might be the WI ladies. And my pet project for this year is I've noticed that there's lots more mature people that haven't been going out since the pandemic's finished, which has
yeah.
led to an awful social anxiety and then in turn loneliness. So I'm looking to pair up with people that are hosting coffee and cake mornings, in the hope that the more mature person that is going to be stuck at home thinking every day is the same as the next, they can come along, and if they want to talk to the person next to them, they can. If not, they can have a piece of coffee. No, they can't. They can have a
Piece
piece of
of
cake
coffee,
and
a piece of cake.
coffee, and then they can learn something that they can do when they're at home on their
Mm,
own. Loneliness is something that it's become this massive thing, and I don't think it's being catered for appropriately.
yeah, and just being able to lose yourself in something while you're in that space, 'cause there's nothing on the telly anymore, and nobody wants to sit in front of the telly when there's nothing really going on or there's never any good news. So actually just doing something a little bit creative and taking you out of your normal environment is a really great thing to do. If anyone's watching this that's like curious or nervous about starting, what would you say to them to do to start? Is there anything that they can go and get? I know you said you've written a couple of books, haven't you? 3 books. How can
Uh,
people get started?
the first thing I would say is for those of you that feel that you're not artistic, don't worry, I'll have you tangling within 30 minutes. For those of you that feel that you haven't got time, come to me because you're my ideal person to teach. For those of you that say you can't afford it, you can. It's not, you don't need to spend £300 on a tray of oils.
Yeah,
There are so many resources out there. Pinterest, obviously, is the best one. My first book that I wrote, actually, this was for children. This is the one that my nephew helped me with. And this is the one that when I work with children, you can see it's very, very basic. And what we use is patterns, outlines like a shark or what have
yeah.
you.
So you're
My
filling
second,
you're filling in an object rather than it being necessarily from the square.
yeah, my second one, let's have a look and see. We've got princesses. Why is it every page I turn? You've got bugs, you've got deer, you've got Christmas things. You've got a penguin. So this is what I mean by I write the class based around what the host wants.
Yeah.
Jelly, that's beautiful.
Jellyfish.
So those are the two Zentangle books. There's quite a few more. I would say don't overthink it, which is sounds a bit daft because I'm the world's worst at that. But don't worry about not having artistic skills. Don't worry about never doing it before. Don't worry about not even hearing about it. I've taught thousands, and I mean thousands. I've taught live on TV. I've worked with people online and in person. You're in safe hands. And with regards to mandalas, this is the one I did. This actually won an award, I think. But we go through everything in here, how to get started and everything else. If you're looking,
What I'll do in the notes for this showcase, I will put the links of where you can find those books. So if you are watching this and you think, actually, I want to give this a go, you don't have to go and buy a book. But if you do want to follow something step by step, Hannah's got those materials for you. I want to go back. You mentioned Malta and teaching in Malta. Why Malta?
good question. I used to go there as a child, and about 25 years ago, I went back for my parents' wedding anniversary, and I got off the plane on the tarmac, and I don't think I'd been there since I was about 5, so it's a long, long time. And something happened to me. I don't know. Some people say I fell in love. I don't know what it was, but I just felt this is where I want to be. I feel like a different person. And Malta is a predominantly Catholic country, so the word Zen they associate with Buddhism, but it's not actually. So I had a bit of an uphill battle getting people to understand that even though the word is symbolic with Buddhism and Hinduism, it's not actually part of a religion. And now I look to work with people in Malta just the same way as I do here. But this year I'm working on retreats in Malta.
Nice.
Businesses that want to have a retreat, I would co-host. So it would be a whole weekend event. But yeah,
Nice.
see my future in Malta when I finally retire. But that's quite a long way
Quite, yeah,
away, I think.
yeah. It's funny, isn't it? I have exactly the same reaction when I land in Ireland. So I worked in Dublin for almost 2 years, and I used to commute back and forth. And I went there, so I've been there socially quite a few times, and I've spent a little bit of time in Southern Ireland. And the minute I land, there's this feeling of I'm home. It is
Mm.
and I hadn't been for quite a few years actually. I hadn't been since pre-COVID. And then I went last year with my daughters because they'd never been before. So I took them. And even though it had been like 5 years, it was still the same feeling. It's a strange thing, isn't it?
I
I just
think
don't get an
if you've
opportunity, but I know you get the opportunity to go to Malta fairly regularly throughout the year, don't you? So you're kind of if you're keeping that feeling alive. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I make the opportunity. I don't think that to be a productive person in a business, a solopreneur, whatever you want to call it, and to be productive and health and safety in your own life, your own well-being and your mindfulness, I don't believe people put themselves first anymore. They tend to be kids first, husband second, or job second, house that, and they're so far down the
Down
pecking
the
order.
list. Yeah.
And I feel that giving yourself what you need. So no, I write my diary around my trips to Malta.
Yeah.
Um, I see especially when I work with businesses and I see the level of burnout, I realise that how fortunate I am that I'm able to do it that way around.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
feel that if people were to listen more to the cues of their body, that perhaps not so much burnout would happen. But
What's happened?
we tend to look after others. We don't tend to look after
Yeah.
ourselves, and then we sort of scratch our heads and say, "Why am I sick?" You know?
Yeah, why am I sick? Why do I not feel great? Why am I exhausted all the time?
Yeah.
Yeah, and as women, we're particularly bad at that. But what I do love about you is you will always plan your trips to Malta and around our WIBN meetings. So
I
you're a
do.
member of you're a member of my Dunmo group, and you'll always be like checking the dates so that you are therefore connecting with the other ladies at Women in Business in Dunmo. And if you would like to meet Hannah in the flesh, that's where you'll find her on the first Friday of the month at our meeting. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been really awesome to chat with you. I know you and I have had a couple of different conversations, and I understand your business, and also my daughter loves Zentangle. So when I met Hannah, I knew what she did. I know that so many people won't have heard of the art form. So thank you for sharing with us today. As I said, I'm going to pop in the notes below the details of how you can connect with Hannah, how you can get hold of perhaps some of those books or the materials that she has shared with us on this member showcase. You will also see details below of WIBN Essex. But thank you for joining me, Hannah. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you soon.
Thanks for having me, Vicky.
All right. Bye
See
for
you
now.
later. Bye.